Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I am your girl, Molinda Jae, and I'm here to do a review of the new show on WeTV, Grown and Gospel. So, with this show is basically a spinoff from Growing Up Hip Hop series on WeTV, and as well as is also low-key giving me like LA Preachers type of vibes if you all have watched that show back in the day. So it's also given a little segments of that too, but we're dealing with the children of the gospel sector this time. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this review. Okay, so we have the cast. I feel like I need to go ahead and share my screen right quick. All right, yes, here we go. Growing up gospel, grown and gospel. It's not growing up gospel, but you already know they are already growing up in the gospel sector. All right, so the cast, we have Nikki Cole Beach. She is the niece of the Clark sisters, and her mother is Dr. Dorinda Clark. All right, and then over here at the top, we have Jay Brooks. He is the son of the father who founded the group Commission, and he's basically like a mentor towards Bree. And it, from the sound of what somebody had said on the episode, I believe it was Tasha that or Nikki that said this about Bree and Jay Brooks used to like date each other back in the day, but that's none of my business. Okay. Then we got Lisa Page Brooks is the mother of Tasha Page Lockhart over here at the bottom where I'm circling at. And her mother, Lisa Page, she is the lead singer of Witness. And I was like, okay, what song is associated with Witness, and they played a little snippet of it. Clap your hands, all you people, clap your hands. Yes, okay, that's where her mother's group sung. Okay, and then we got Brienne, aka Bree Hammond. She is the daughter of the living legend Fred Hammond. Okay, gospel royalty at its finest. And then we over here we got Elijah. And he is an R&B singer as well as a preacher's kid, and he is the son of Reverend Janice Connor. And then over here at the bottom center, we have Shayna Wilson Williams. And I hope I'm pronouncing her first name right. But again, she has not been seen in the first episode, so hopefully she appears or has an introduction or makes her introduction in the second episode. But speaking of Miss Wilson Williams, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute and bring up a little bit about herself as well. Shayna Wilson Williams, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, the youngest daughter of Bishop Samuel and the late Jay Wilson, founders, pastors of Community Christian Fellowship Church. She serves as worship leader and music ministry coordinator. Shayna is a worshiper who's known for her giftedness in songwriting and her ability to lead people into the presence of God. In 2006, she became and still is an independent worship artist, and has since recorded 3 live worship albums: The Nations Are Waiting, I Love You, and Everlasting, with singles such as Press in Your Presence, Give Me You, and the latest release, It's in the Room. In September 2014, she married the love of her life, Mr. Richard Williams, and through their union, they now have a son, RJ, and 2 daughters, Majesty and Legacy. What a beautiful name. Okay. In 2019, Shayna created her very own cosmetic brand, Sarcastic Cosmetics. There's so much more to Shayna than meets the eye. She is always had a passion for young people and has a yearning to see their relationship with Christ grow and flourish. She plans to start a youth program to help cultivate their craft. She also has a passion to help those who are less fortunate than her, a passion for all things beauty, and for mothers who struggle with infertility. There is so much more coming from Shayna, and she is overjoyed to share with the world. Shayna is also often asked where her worship passion comes from, and her constant response is, "My worship is born out of my relationship with Christ." And that is a beautiful photo of her. My goodness. I love the way it moves on her website too. But yes, that is a introduction from Ms. Wilson Williams herself. I thought I would share that with y'all because she is one of the cast members, and like I said, she's not in the first episode, and hopefully she will appear in the next episode. Okay, now that we given the introduction, it is review time. So my overall thoughts of this episode is, like I said, it is basically a group of young adults. Well, they're not young adults. Well, they're adults. Okay, a group of children of the gospel sector is grown up, and they are basically living, I wouldn't say underneath their parents' shadow, because each and every one of them is finding their own way, or has already found their way to success with either, some nudges from their parents, or they found their way through hard work and dedication. All right. Also, it is filmed in Detroit, Michigan. So shouts out to Detroit out there. Standards of religion. Okay. Growing up in the gospel sector. Okay. People will probably have some mixed feelings about this show, but I would encourage you all to give them a chance and hear them out, because even though they are kids of pastors, bishops, or singers or founding fathers in the religion sector, the gospel sector, they are still human beings at the end of the day. They go through the same everyday struggles just like everyone else. They're just a little bit more anointed with the coinage, okay? If you get my drift, all right? Now, the scene starts off with Elijah doing some self-care routine in the bathtub, and I was like, okay. All right, we're going that route. But basically, with this scene with Elijah tending to self-care in the tub at his residence, he was basically saying that, if you have a phone, or if you're not posting on social media, then you basically don't have a career, because I mean, if you have an audience out there, everyone has their own type of audience, and of course they will not flock to you at first, but during time, whenever you start posting consistently, or you give a glimpse of your day-to-day life, so to speak, all that mumbo jumbo and stuff, then the crowd will come to you. But if you're not posting on social media consistently, giving your audience an update, or just doing anything social media wise, then you might as well not have a career in it, because at the end of the day, if you're not posting on a frequent basis, then people are going to go to the next. In other words, people's attention span is very short, and you got to keep your audience entertained before they end up losing interest and moving to the next. All right. So that was basically what that scene was about. And also, he was letting his fans know that he has a single coming up, as well as an album that's about to be released. and he's heading to the radio station to do some promotion, and therefore, all right. So that was going on in that first scene. Now the next scene shifts on over to Nikki at her mother's home, because she is living there along with her children as her husband is gone. Now at first, when she said, okay, her husband's gone, I'm like, oh, okay, he's probably working. And then he comes whenever he is off from work, maybe out of town. But however, he is in prison. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm gonna combine two scenes, because she has a scene with just giving her introduction in the first scene that you see her, and then further on down the episode, you're gonna see another scene of her interacting with her husband via call from prison, and she just setting the tone, setting the mood in her bedroom, and she's basically explaining that there's a lack of privacy when they're trying to do some kinky stuff on the phone and stuff like that. So all right, but other than that, within this scene with Miss Nikki Beach, like I said, she's living with her mother while her husband is gone to prison. He has been sentenced to 7, but he has served 4 so far. And the reason why I like Nikki already is because, you know, even though she's in the gospel sector and she has grown up under gospel royalty, aka the Clark sisters, and we've all watched the Clark sister biopic on Lifetime, and I'm pretty sure a couple more documentaries that was out released for us to get a glimpse of their upbringing and stuff like that. But I like Nikki because, and that's my man. I'm sticking beside him no matter what, and rightfully so, because he treats her really, really nice. And you're going to see it in this episode if you haven't seen it already, because it's already out. Episode 2 will be premiering Thursday, I believe. But her husband treats her very well while he is in prison, because he asked her about, you know, giving or doing a 40th birthday party and stuff like that. Oh, well, no, that was her mother that asked her that, and she just blatantly said, hey, I'm just glad I'm still living another day, another year, and all that is not necessary for the big celebration and all that type of deal. But with the reason being of me pointing this out, of her husband being in jail and he's still handling business while he is still in there, is because him and her mom was working together to do a surprise birthday party for her, regardless if she said she wanted to party or not. And on top of that, spoiler, he gave her a ring, and that mug was nice. Okay, so shouts out to them on that. And on top of that, let's see what I wrote in my notes. The support system when it comes to him getting out and to adjust in day-to-day society from being institutionalized for a long period of time. And I'm probably going to explain a little bit more in depth on my spiritual channel, but just to keep it short and simple, even though people may make mistakes and they go to jail and stuff like that, because if it was a powerful person, they just getting a slap on the wrist and they only getting either a quarter of what an average person gets as far as like going to jail, and they have done worse. Okay, and it's just a simple fact that there is a lack of support whenever the person does get out of jail or prison, because is dealing with that another burden type of deal. Because I'll give you a great scenario. It's just like a military personnel retiring from the military, And with them being in the war zone for so long and having to come back to civilization, it's going to take a longer period for them to get readjust back into society. And there may be some mental health issues that come into play just depending on how bad the conditions were. But it's just important to express empathy amongst those that do come out of jail, especially when they do lesser crimes and you see the progress of them actually rehabilitated to the point where they want to continue to be a citizen of society and not having to risk their freedom again to go back into the pen, if you get my drift. So for people who are coming out of jail, out of prison, just have a little bit of empathy, but not too much to where you get ran over like a doormat and then you're gonna be left left out high and dry. Okay, now on to the next scene where Elijah does go to the radio station and meet with the DJ Bushman, who is a very prominent person at a local radio station to promote his debut album and especially his single Appetite. And they do give him some promotion and sounding his song on the show, which is a big deal because again, you're spreading your song, you're spreading your work around the masses beyond in the local realm. So it's a bop, okay? I wouldn't mind listen to it, okay? But he mentioned he's running in the theme of the Book of Eli because his name is Elijah type of deal. But also with him not being in the gospel sector and not wanting to do anything with the church, he's just more like, I am basically in the R&B singer realm. And the radio host was like, why? So why R&B and not gospel? Because you have the connections there. And he's like, I love talking about love and I love intimate relationships, if you get my drift, okay? I love intercourse, okay? So I was like, okay, that's understandable because he does give that vibes of him loving the love language and the affectionate and probably public PDA if you really want to get technical with it. I can see him being the type of person to do so. But his target audience, of course, is going to be women. But at the same time, if anybody loves it, likes it, loves it, then of course he is doing his due diligence. Okay, so that's all that was going on in the promotional portion with Elijah being at the radio station promoting his album. Now we're going to segue into the next scene that was with Bree. Now Bree Hammond, she's going to be, I can already feel within this first episode that Bree is going to be the talk of the show or be the main subject of the show, and is possibly due to her father being the legendary Fred Hammond himself, and how she is basically a nepotism baby. And basically with Bree, she is returning back to Detroit, and I guess you could say starting all over, but I'm gonna say picking up where she left off at. So she meets with Jay Brooks, which is this fellow here at the top. She meets with him at a restaurant because she does consider him as a mentor and just seeking for guidance in regards to having a direction, coming up with a plan for her career and getting back to the basics, okay? Getting back to singing. So some of the questions that Jay Brooks was asking her was, okay, what's the plan? What is your direction? What is going to be your target audience? Have you started working on anything? And she it seems like she has a fear of failure or guilt or shame, possibly rejection too. And it's possibly due to her relationship with her father, because she does go into some detail of her parents divorcing while she was young, and her having, and they do, and well, she does have an adopted brother, but we just gonna say brother because they had him ever since he was 5 days old, I believe that's what she said. But other than that, hey, she has a brother because they grew up together. She has a brother, and as stated before, her parents had divorced while she was young. And basically, when people get divorced, of course, it causes a great shift. And also, I wouldn't say it sets precedents, but a great shift. And then with your one of your parents being a prominent figure in that particular sector is more like a gas type of thing, like, oh my gosh, really, what is going on? And people would like to know the tea of, oh, how, why did the relationship fail, what happened in a relationship, why did it end the way it did. But all in a nutshell, I believe it, when it comes to her and her dad, because she did used to sing with her dad once upon a time, and whatever happened then is definitely affecting how she performs or just how she maneuvers in her day-to-day life, because her relationship with her father is estranged. And I do hope she comes to, or I really do hope her and her dad come into a reconciliation period to where they can lay things out on the line and come to some better understanding within each other, and reestablish that relationship between the father and the daughter, because that is important. Okay, everybody needs their father. And she just feels like, I don't know, I'm just getting the energy of her just being lost because of the estrangement relationship with her father. So really, I really hope her and her dad make amends along the way. Um Also, as well, let's see, far as some things that she spoke about within this lunch with Jay Brooks, is that she is, let's see, each time she said, each time she named, well, yeah, I wrote this down, I'm sorry. Each time she names something that prevents her from doing what she wants to do, Jay calls it an excuse. Like, for example, she says, I still have my job that I have to do on a day-to-day basis as a steady stream of income. And he's like, excuse. And then she'll say something else like, I need to find some excuse. And then she'll name something else and he'd be like, excuse. So all in a nutshell, Jay, the advice Jay has given to Bree is basically just get clear on what you really want to do at this moment, and then start with baby steps, because at the end of the day, everything that you need is literally on a computer or a phone, but especially a computer. And you don't need a whole record label to do the things that you need to do, like like record, or doing some editing, and get you a microphone, get you a headset, get have your little corner or a little area so you can do your recording and stuff like that. And basically, it's just no excuse. You don't need all that record label stuff. You can do it. And we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just basically how you're going to utilize that same 24 hours in a day so you can get to the goal that you would like to get to. Okay. So, and also he has said the same energy that you put in your 9 to 5 work, put it into your dreams and aspirations as well, so they can be fruitful and multiply. Okay. He didn't say be fruitful and multiply. I added that in there. I thought it was self-explanatory. Okay. So without further ado, yeah, that is what was going on with the brunch between Bree and Jay at that time. because at the end of the day, nepotism doesn't always mean success. All right. So, without further ado, let's go on into the next episode. Oop, I got a ring in my ear, so that must mean something. All right, next thing we do have Jay Brooks meeting with Nikki, Tasha, and Elijah at Coney Island. But I call them the core four because I feel like whenever meetings are going to take place, they're always going to be there, either handling business, talking amongst each other until someone else arrives. All right. But other than that, in this scene, this is when Tasha comes in, makes her little introduction. Elijah, he's being extra, a little bougie at the same time, and I ain't mad at it because it was pretty comical because he was asking the person, can I get a hot cocoa with whipped cream? And the person was like, we don't have that. Okay, can I get this, and this as well? And the guy was like, we don't have that neither. And finally Brooks was just like, dude, just get you a coney and call it a day. So Elijah had just set on getting a hot dog or a coney, basically a hot dog that's cut in half, and whatever toppings he had said at that time. But during this, Jay is discussing among the groups of Bree's return back to Detroit, wanting to let everybody know to, if you come across her along the way, just welcome her with open arms. And also just welcome her with open arms because there has been a lot that transpired back in the day, and don't ask me why yet because like I said, I be in my own little world, and with this new show coming out, it piques my interest, and I just like to know what people are going through behind closed doors, whether it's on reality TV or not. But other than that, all in a nutshell, with this particular scene with the core four is just meeting up with each other, catching up on how each other are doing, and whenever letting everybody know that Bree is back in town. And if you see her along the way before a major event happens, just welcome her with open arms because she's just basically getting back into the swing of things after leaving for a long periodically time. All right. And then lastly, the next scene is Nikki meeting with her aunts at a local shop there because she is the manager of the Clark sisters. She's in charge of getting dressing them, coordinate them, all those type of things. But she also, one of the aunts stayed back along with her mom to discuss about what's going on, any management type of deals that's going on, or just business in general. But also they segue over to Bree being the topic of her return back to Detroit. And also one of the aunts had recommended Nikki to talk to Bree about and ask her where her head is at. And the reason being because Nikki had went into debt about her rebellious time in her younger years. Well, they're actually the same age, to be quite honest, because one of the aunts had asked her, hey, how old is Bree? And Nikki was like, I believe she's around my age because she used to date Jay back in the day, per se. I mean, I don't know. Okay, I'm just letting y'all know what was said. All right, but yeah, they talk about Bree and her just coming back to the swing of things, and then Nikki was very receptive of wanting to speak or talk to Bree or just connect with Bree to actually see where her head is at, because she gets how she is feeling when it comes to stepping out on your own and not necessarily living under your parents' shadows, or not wanting to live under your parents' shadows, because it's just so much that so much standards and guidelines and all those type of dealings that you have to uphold to be considered welcome per se, or just maintain the status quo of it all, because of his status, because of Fred Hammond's status. So and also Nikki is empathizing with Bree when it comes to having an estranged relationship with her parents once upon a time, because of, there will be examples like, okay, it's not good to go out and party and drink because that's the devil's music, and with you drinking, those are spirits. It opens a portal for spirits to come and take a hold of you and stuff like that. But on the flip side, when it comes to a kid growing up in gospel, it's like, well, I want to have fun too and do what the other folks are doing, but I can't, because that goes against not only the religion, but it goes against the Bible and the standards of the religion as well. So Nikki was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind talking to Bree because I understand where she's coming from. And luckily I was able to still house support when I was ready to come back. And that's another thing that people don't realize when it comes to, well, a lot of kids will go through this. I went through this, but definitely everybody has went through a rebellious time in their life where they feel like they've been left out of society due to how they grown up. And once they start indulging in that stuff, then it gets a little addicting or obsessive to a point where you do hit rock bottom, and the things that your parents have tried to tell you or tried to shield you away from, it won't make sense then, because you're just wanting to figure out what is this tempting thing that everybody is doing, but I'm not able to do because of the status that I have within a particular sector. But once you do indulge in it and it becomes excessive or a slight addiction, then once you hit rock bottom, it's like, well, are you going to have a support system or not? Because 9 times out of 10, if it was a person from back in the day doing those type of things, the parents would just be like, I'm done with it, I'm gonna give it to God, and you figure your way out on your own. Compared to now, people, just depending on how their mindset is and how they grew up, people are a little bit more mindful and will not let go of their child, or not let their child stray away enough to them not being able to save that person in time, if you get what I'm saying. So, because that's what happened with Nikki. She has already explored her rebellious side, and she had came to a realization along the way that the things that I was being shielded before that I've already done, it was not necessarily worth it at the end. But at the end of the day, she was able to have a strong support system behind her, compared to with mother and father and the rest of her family. Compared to Bree, she is still able to have the support system with her mom and her son, but not so much with her father. And that's what she is missing and longing for. The attention, the affectionate, and the acceptance of her father is what Bree is needing, so she can be able to show progress and feel seen and heard, so she can be able to tackle the day-to-day lives or any type of goals that she wants to go for. I know that was a little long-winded, y'all, but I had to just put it all together so I can or give y'all some examples so we can bring it all in, if y'all get my drift. But I'll cover those topics a little bit more in my spiritual channel. So yeah, the link will be in the description below. The last scene is with Nikki's surprise 40th birthday party. And as stated before, her husband, Dion, and her mom, as well as a couple of friends, helped out to put this thing together. And I do have to say, it was a nice little shindig that they were able to get that done within possibly a couple days, possibly a couple of weeks. Everybody is invited. The bishop of the Kojic church, it was present there, so everybody definitely had to be on their best behavior to a certain degree, as well as Brooks inviting Bree to the party, because this will be the first time since everybody has seen her besides Brooks. But as she walked in, though, once Bree had made her appearance, Elijah was like, oh, she looked like me at first with the blonde hair, but over a period of time, as she was saying hello to everyone, he was like, she's giving off the vibes of she's feeling left out, like feeling a little isolated, or just feel like that shame and guilt lingering around her, when she is the daughter of Fred Hammond. I would have walked up in this piece like I am the ish, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, Elijah, come on. I get what he's saying, but again, just because you are the daughter or the son of somebody, we just never know what happens behind closed doors, and we have to reserve our judgment until they are willing and able and to open themselves up. And yeah, he was like, yeah, she's giving vibes of isolation. You know, she feels out of place, like a fish out of water. But on the flip side, everybody else is welcoming her, as well as Tasha and Nikki. And then, well, once Nikki walks in, she is like very surprised. Okay, she is very surprised, very shocked. Even her husband sent like a voicemail to let her know that showing her his love and appreciation for her, and the list goes on, just showering her with love. Even though he's not presently there, it's just the fact that he went above and beyond to make sure and reassure that Nikki is safe, secure, and he is there for her. And then, like I said, the icing on the cake was revealing the ring to her. I'm thinking it's a little crystal that the ring, okay, the ring was in this like spiky crystal ball type of deal, or centerpiece. And I'm like, he gifted her a centerpiece, but then they zoomed in a little bit more, and I was like, oh, oh my gosh, the ring was beautiful. And yes, girl, flaunt that ring, flaunt it, girl, flaunt that ring. But I enjoyed the whole entire episode. I believe it's 6 episodes with this particular show as well, with along with the Queens of R&B with SWV and Escape. Oh my gosh, there's so much drama surrounding that. I just cannot. I'm sticking to the review, and that's it. But that is the ending of the episode 1 of Grown in Gospel. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. But other than that, I'm gonna leave y'all to it. Just leave your thoughts in the comment section below on whether you watch Grown in Gospel or not. And do you relate to some of the topics that I spoke about, as far as like the having the support system when a person is getting out of the penitentiary or the jail or prison? The relationship between the father and the daughter is prominent, as well as growing up in the church. Have you experienced some FOMO, fear of missing out type of feeling when it comes to the folks that are listening to secular music and able to do whatever they want to do, and you're just like, I want to do that, or I want to experience that, but I can't because of the religion that I'm in. Okay, so just leave your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll dive a little bit deeper into these topics like this on my spiritual channel again. Because when I talk about these topics on my regular channel, it's whatever. It's got to be some gossip and some drama behind it, but I like the show. I hope y'all watch the show as well if you're able and capable of doing that, because it just brings another perspective behind the flashy, the status of it all. But I'm gonna leave y'all to it. The video's getting super long. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.